Hello and welcome to India Today Group. Joining me is Mr. Karishma Subramanian, former CEA but also current Executive Director at IMF. A big smile on your face. Looks like you're definitely happy with the budget. What have been the key highlights that promise India's growth rate?
I'm happy because the economy is doing well. And big picture response, I would call it, I would use three words: judicious, non-populist and visionary. Judicious on the fiscal front, non-populist because it's been more of the same, stuff that has worked very well in delivering good economic performance, and visionary, especially some of the key steps that have been taken. If I look at the 1 lakh crore provision, for research and innovation, I think that's very important because you would recall, a couple of years back in the economic survey, we'd written how India had broken into the top 50 on the innovation index, and this will further. And I think, in general, if, India has to grow to be an advanced economy, the emphasis on innovation, research is absolutely critical. Combined with the National Science Foundation equivalent of that was announced earlier and I think has been actioned, this money will really help in pushing innovation because this is 50-year money. That's very, very long gestation period that will help on the innovation front. Together with some of the push for, CAPEX at the state level. Last year, we would recall 1.3 lakh crore was provisioned, out of which, 98,000 crores has already been utilized by states, which has resulted in an increase of about 47% in CAPEX spending by the states. So that's something which is working very well, and the government has doubled down by, increasing spending on tourism, for instance. And they've also talked about a 75,000 crores. I'm actually not clear what is the head in which they've talked about that. But I think some clarity, once I have clarity, I'd be able to opine better. But overall, I think giving incentives to states to invest in capital expenditure, I think that's also part of the visionary. Together with some of the steps on, for instance, on power, I think the solar top, what has been announced, I think is also something which will be very critical from a green growth perspective.
Great. Mr. Subramanian, you did mention about how the growth looks positive, but keeping in mind this year is important not just for India's elections, but globally it's an important year for leadership.
Yes.
Tell me, isn't 5.1% fiscal deficit quite over-enthusiastic?
Well, I think that if you put it together with the 11.1% increase in capital expenditure, I would then look at it very, positively, because what that means is that, now remember, this 11.1% increase in capital expenditure is coming on the back of a 35% increase, in this year. And that amount itself is actually, which is 1,11,000 crores, increase in CAPEX. So the decline is on the revenue expenditure side, primarily. I have to look at the details, but that's my sense.
There's a slight miss on this year's CAPEX, very slight in absolute terms, from 10 to about 9.5.
No, I think that we have to wait and watch because there's still a couple of months left. I think by March, by when, and many times a lot of the CAPEX actually does happen in the last, months because many of the sort of departments will try and double down and utilize the amount that has been budgeted for. So I'll wait and watch. I think, but even if let's say it is slightly lower than the 35%, I would rather look at 35% increase, and if that is delivered even at 33-34%, that's phenomenal increase on CAPEX side. So I would, look at this as in a very positive way. I think the fiscal consolidation path that has been given is not only is it credible, it's actually quite conservative. It's consistent with the theme. And when I was part of government, that's something we would talk about as well, which is under-promise and over-deliver. And I think that is absolutely in contrast. If you look at some of the previous budgets that used to be there in the previous government, they would actually over-promise and severely under-deliver. And I think the contrast here is just phenomenal, therefore.
Right. Just on that quick note before I let you go, in terms of disinvestment, I think it goes the other way around because government has always set quite a mega target, and now for FY25 also they are looking at about 50,000 crore. If IDBI doesn't take off, that does not look very positive. Your word on that? So
disinvestment is an area, I think, where there's scope for improvement for sure. This is something which I had, internally when I was part of government as well, I've shared. I think that these numbers are still part of the interim, because I don't think that in a 3-month window there can be that much achieved on disinvestment. I would rather watch for the disinvestment number that comes in the budget post the new government, and that will be the more important number to look at.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.